let's see. So see, in this demo session, okay. I mean, what we are going to discuss mainly is the first 8 modules. Okay, I'll come back later what we'll discuss, because here there are a lot of things, but I'll show you what we'll discuss later. Okay, and what we'll cover in our later sessions, I'll discuss that later. But first, let's see what LIMS is. Okay, so discussed what LIMS is. So what happened is that, so why the need for LIMS came, So earlier there used to be paper and pen, right? Calculations. There used to be, you used to maintain all those lab calculations and all the values entered in the samples, all your inventories, all your stability data, all used to be managed in pen and paper, right? There were computers, because computers a lot later, right? So managing those, racks and racks of paper, in a systematic order was very difficult, right? So there was a need for digitization. Okay, so everything was done manually. Then somewhere later calculators came, sophisticated programs came, but most of them were uh, they were costly systems, or those systems were in mini computers or supercomputers. They were mostly used in the labs, right? But slowly the generation of microcomputers came, right? So when microcomputers came, computers, laptops, PCs became accessible to everyone, right? So companies, so slowly all the LIMS companies, they came. I mean, all the, so whatever examples we have of LIMS companies, we'll discuss later. So those companies came with an innovative data. Okay, so we need to make an end-to-end solution on lab systems. We need an end-to-end solution. Okay, so then came LIMS, and slowly with time, LIMS got modified, it got improved. A lot of developers worked on it. So and then the modern day LIMS came into picture. Okay, where sample barcoding is there, and location ID, location tagging, and GPS is used.
Your voice is bit low.
Is it okay now? Is it
Okay.
loud now?
Yeah.
Okay, it's okay.
Something
Okay, I'm
disturbance
sorry.
is there from back side.
I believe should not be any, but is the disturbance very large? Maybe
No,
it's
not
because
at
of
all.
the fan.
Now it's
No, no,
Okay,
not now.
okay. So you see, there are a lot of LIMS creators, right? One is Labware. So, but each LIMS is based on its own programming language, right? So, Labware is built on which programming language? Those who are working on Labware, can you just tell or guess? No one? Labware is built on a programming language known as Smalltalk. Smalltalk, Smalltalk. The company was founded by Vance Krishner. Okay, most probably he was a mechanical engineer. Then, we have StarLIMS, which is built on .NET. We have LabVantage, which is built on Java. Then we have Sample Manager, which is built on C#. So see, each of these are built in different programming language, but more or less their work of functionality is same, right? We work with samples. Maybe the UI is a bit different. Maybe table structures are different. Maybe they use some other reporting tool. In Labware we use Crystal reports. Okay, in LabVantage we use Jasper reports. So maybe the reporting, but all of these are LIMS, right? But again, I think IBM has made one LIMS known as Watson LIMS. So there is again Caliber LIMS as well. Uh, did anyone hear of the name Caliber LIMS?
Yes,
yes.
sir.
Yes.
Yeah, I believe that's made by Caliber Technologies only, the company name. I'm not sure, but it's based at Hyderabad itself. Caliber LIMS, the head office, I think. Their main
Yes.
development center is there. Yeah, I'm not sure, but yeah, I mean, you can tell me if I'm wrong. You can tell me. I'm correct, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So there are a different type of LIMS, and you see, India is also coming up in in this LIMS market. So we have Labware and LabVantage offices also here in India as well. So we have sample manager offices also. So this industry, the LIMS, and one more thing, this is not only used in the pharma industry. These are used in other industries as well. So, they are used in pharma and biotech manufacturing, clinical health, veterinary, chemical and petrochemical, food and beverage, in commercial labs. So you see, the scope of LIMS is very big, and you have a lot of career growth here, right? So let's see what is explained here. So what is LIMS? It allows us to effectively manage samples and associated data to improve lab efficiency. See, it's not only samples, right? Who logged the sample? When was the sample logged? Which date was the sample logged? You got it, right? What are the tests within those samples? What are the components within those? So everything which is related to that sample belongs to which lot? So it is used to automate workflows. Yes, workflows are there in LIMS. Then it is used to integrate instruments. So, and it is used to manage samples and associated information. So, a lot of instruments are used in the labs. You will know, right? We use titrators. Okay. Uh, and what else? We use pipettes. So these are all manual, but there are many instruments which are automatic. Automatically those are integrated. For example, you see your barcode reader is also an instrument, right? I mean, it is connected to LIMS via your RS-232 port, right? So whenever you use that barcode scanner and you bring to your sample, they have that barcode or something, right? And they read, and that sample number comes to LIMS, right? So that is also an integration, right? So you integrate LIMS with Empower, right? With your chromatographic softwares. Am I right or wrong?
Yeah, correct.
So yeah, see, accurate reproducible results faster and more reliably. So the coding is done in such a way that you know it produces accurate results. So LIMS is built in such a way that means you can decide till which decimal point you want to show the output, till how much you want to round off. Is everything we can do, right? We can create format calculation, we can create subroutines. So anything and everything to automate our lab task, right? We can do, right? So makes data from sequencing runs easier to store, track, and assess over time and across experiments. Yes. And evaluate and improve operational efficiency. So, improving efficiency, tracking your chain of custody, everything, your experiments, whichever you're performing on the labs, your samples in whichever, you are storing, wherever you are storing, from which time you are, pulling out the sample from the chambers, whatever it is, anything and everything, the LIMS has to do from the lab perspective, they should have that capability. So, but again, there are different, creators of LIMS, and each kind is built in its own programming language. So there is a bit of differences. So LIMS, what does LIMS include? Collection sites, preservatives, your analysis method, employee details, right? Employee detail means what? Whoever has access to LIMS, their passwords, their IDs, you can store those passwords in LIMS, or you can store in a lab server and connect that LDAP server to your LIMS. Those are different topics. Anyways, slowly going ahead, we'll learn those also in a later classes. So what LIMS does include, sample tracking, yes, query searching. You can use queries, you can write queries to see, for example, we'll cover this as well. If you want to see all the samples which were logged by a particular user between this date to that date, this date to that date, so that is query searching, right? You write a query. Instrument integration, reporting functionality, yes, you want to see the reports of all of the samples which are in incomplete status, right, or in progress status, right, or samples which have been rejected by a particular analyst, right, or whatever it is, right, or you want to print out the COA, certificate of analysis, right, all of that. Audit trail is there, barcoding is there. So how LIMS works, you know first, you know uh, basically what we do is that we generally create samples, right? First of all, we create the master data, right? From those master data, we create samples, right? So once samples are created, we allocate the work, right? We allocate the samples to, specific people, right? Specific analysts. Maybe some analyst will enter the results, his or her supervisor will approve it. It will go through the approval chain. Maybe they'll reject it. After it's done, they'll do the printing and reporting. Okay. Then once they have worked on the sample, they'll close the sample or dispose the sample, or they'll close the lot, right? So this is how basically a workflow for a sample works. So, so what we can see here, okay, training records checking, instrument calibration and maintenance. So we can do instrument calibration and maintenance as well, because there are separate instrument modules in LIMS, okay, where we can put all the instrument details. We can even integrate some of instruments, and we can automate also. We can use parsing scripts also in LIMS, okay, because there is one lab station. Those who have worked in lab by LIMS, you have heard, right, this term lab station, which is used to create parsing scripts and integrate instruments with LIMS. Anyways, we can do instrument inventory tracking. Okay, we can work with standards and reagents. Okay, that's what we said, right? I said we can approve or reject samples. We can cancel samples as well. We can do external integration of LIMS, right? External integration means what? With other tools, for example, chromatographic tools, for example, Empower, right? So as said, that there are different LIMS vendors, right? Like Thermo Fisher, Labware, LabVantage, Caliber Technologies, LIMS. But if you look into the market capturer, who is there at the top of the game, if I'm not wrong, I believe it's Labware. Highest market capture is there for Labware. Then comes your sample manager and LIMS, I believe, and then it's LabVantage. Now Caliber LIMS is slowly coming up in the market. So I believe its roots are from India. So let's hope that this comes up. This shines in the LIMS industry, even outside as well. So even in India also, we have a lot of scope in LIMS, right? Like all the pharma companies, they are using LIMS in India and outside India as well, right? The oil and gas companies, you take any example, Shell, yeah, they are using LIMS, right? Pharma companies, take example of all the big pharma companies. All the IT companies, those are supporting. They are also, they also have requirements for LIMS. Okay. So, choosing a system. So what kind of LIMS you want to choose, right? It depends on how you want to manage, right? There may be a bit of differences between each kind of LIMS. For example, right, Labware has one UI, which is in blue, and they have their own workflows. But if you go to LabVantage has its own UI, right? It's like dots and tram stops. As you go across the dots, drop downs will come. Each has its own programming language, right? Each has its own scripting language. In Labware LIMS, we use the scripting language, which is LIMS basic. In LabVantage, we use Java. So the point is now, right, if you want to choose a tool, right, if you want to implement it for your pharma company, you need to assess everything, right? Starting from the UI, starting from the programming language, starting from how the LIMS creators will support your application, right? And also you need to then create the master data, right? How you will create the master data, how much easy it is to create the master data in LIMS. After you create the master data, then only you can work, right? You got it, right? Then you need to train your resources also, right? For that LIMS. Then you need to validate it. You need to check whether it meets all your regulatory requirements or not. Because pharma is a very regulated environment. Each and every step which you do in production must be audited, right? Because something does wrong somewhere or something goes wrong, that is not acceptable in the pharma industry, right? Even if it goes wrong, you have to be responsible and you have to be answerable why it went wrong, right? It should be trackable. Everything should be trackable, right? So as of now, you understood everything, right?
Yes, sir.
Any questions?
One question, sir. Can I?
Yeah, sure.
As we are speaking about LIMS here, Labware, Caliber, LIMS, whatever these 4 5 competitors are available in market. In spite of this, whatever we observed is Caliber LIMS is user friendly. Like observations are there like this. So how we can detect, how we can say that Caliber is user friendly like this? That was my question.
See, I did not work on Caliber LIMS. I cannot tell you. See, there is one thing, user friendliness, like you will click here, something will happen. You will click there, something will happen. But there is something you need to look beyond user friendliness, right? The thing is, it should fulfill all your pharma regulatory requirements, point 1, and point 2, it should be customizable, right? Because one pharma company tells that, okay, I need to automate this task. This sample can only be viewed by this resource during this shift hours. Okay, there are some laboratory process, some automations which the client comes or which the pharma company comes and tells the LIMS company that, okay, we can do this thing. So going ahead, maybe later we'll discuss, there are a lot of examples where some LIMS companies have those functionalities. Some LIMS companies say, okay, no, we don't have that functionality. We'll do something else here. We'll do some other tweaks. So one is user friendliness. The other is customizability. How much you can customize, how much you can, mold your LIMS to meet your requirements. So see, user friendliness, I cannot answer you, because to you, something can be user friendly. To me, something else can be user friendly. To you, Windows can be user friendly. But some programmer may come and tell that, okay, Linux is user friendly. But if we speak of user friendliness is something, okay, we click here, some other drop down comes and we understand where we are navigating. Things are not complicated. So many datas are not asked. So that way we can assess user friendliness. But if you ask me, which is the most user friendly, that may differ from person to person. You got my answer, right?
Yeah, correct.
Because you see, someone can tell this software is user friendly for me. Someone else can tell, no, this is not user friendly. That is user friendly for me. But
Okay.
apart from user friendliness, what the pharma companies see, how much this LIMS solution, how much can they provide me the solution? How much can they provide me the solution to my problems? Of course, costing is also there, right? License costing is also there, right? Money matters at the end of the day, right? Pharma companies assess so many things, not only user friendliness. That's what they assess, so many things parallelly, right? They need to train the resources also, right? So that LIMS tool should be such like they can, at least they can train the end users fast, right? They'll adapt to it, right? Anyways, so we'll see the, what is GMP now. So the full form you have heard, right?
Good manufacturing practices.
Good automated manufacturing practices.
Yeah.
So,
It's-
yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
It's current good manufacturing practices.
Yeah. So, what is GMP? So, GMP, it is an acronym, a short form, which is used to summarize your good automated manufacturing practices. So actually, these are a compilation of recommendations or a set of code or practices, which, which were published by your International Society for Pharmaceutical Engineering, ISPE, so in the form of a book or booklet, to provide, guidance on your compliance of computerized systems. So there are 4 categories of GMP. First is OS, second is firmware, 3 is standard software, 4 is configured software, 5 is custom software. So LIMS falls under category 4. ERP, LIMS, they fall under category 4, configured software. GMP 5. Just remember this, okay? Just for your sake of knowledge, this may help you going ahead. So again, there are a lot of environments for LIMS, right? You have your development environment where you develop your code. Okay, maybe your subroutines. You have your static environment where you manufacture, where you, develop all your static data, master data, that means, or, you have your static data. So there are some, pharma companies who don't have 2 separate environments. They do this development and static environment in one environment, which they call development environment. Then they have quality environment, which they do the testing, right? Then they have the production environment where they move everything into production. Then, after the validation environment, they may have one extra environment, which is known as the training environment, where they do the training of their resources, right? So see, here 4 are written, but don't be very rigid, right? I mean, there can be more than 1 environments, 2 environments. Someone can tell, okay, no, I do the development and training in development and testing in 1 environment, production in 2. It all depends on your costing and how many environments you want to have, how many level of filter you want to have, right? But in general, there are 3 environments. One is development, one is testing or validation, one is production. Okay. Is it clear? Is it clear till now?
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, I want to hear yes
Yes.
from others as well. Yeah, everyone, yes. If anyone is no, just tell me no. Okay, I'll be happy to tell again. Okay. Because see, I'm starting from the very basics, right? The demo session. So going ahead, we'll go into much advanced concepts. Anyways, so what are the modules, right? Lot management. You can create raw lots for raw materials, packaging materials, finished products. Okay. Then you have inventory management, right? For your chemicals, reagents, you have your inventories. Okay. Then you have your instrument management. As I said, right? You can work on instruments as well. Then inventory instrument stability management. So stability, right? Listening from the name stability, what in very short, stability means finding out the expiry date of your medicines or anything. Okay. In very short, we'll have one session, complete session on stability. Okay, stability management on LIMS. Okay, so basically we can do stability management in LIMS as well. EM monitoring. So the labs, right? The labs to test in the labs, right? We, we work on sterilized environment, right? In the labs. So they take the swabs from the environment, or they take those, from inside the labs, right? They take that air sample or water sample, whatever it is, and they check, right? How much impurity is there. So that is your EM monitoring, right? Then you have your micro inventory management, media culture identification, and in-house isolate registration. Okay. uh, then master data. So in order to work with samples, you need master data, right? You need a test, right? For example, simply, right, we take an example, right? So paracetamol is your product, right? For example, paracetamol is your product, and you may be manufacturing it, and to manufacture you may need to do certain tests in it, or maybe your paracetamol went to your QC lab. You need to do certain identity test, you need to do certain system suitability tests. Am I going right? Someone is there from the QC lab as well, right? Vishal or
Yes.
someone, am I right?
Yes,
Yeah,
right.
correct.
If somewhere I'm wrong, tell me, okay? Because I am a consultant developer, okay? So I know about QC, but anyways, those who are masters in this field, always you can interrupt me and tell, because this is a two-way learning, okay? This is a very vast topic, and this is a two-way learning. You can interrupt me and you can share your knowledge as well. I'll be happy to learn from you as well. Okay. Anyways, we have instruments, inventories. Okay. Okay. Then we are coming to LIMS roles. You see, basically you are logging, someone will be logging as an admin, someone will be logging in as a supervisor, someone will be logging as an analyst, someone will be logging as a some validating something, someone will be logging as a reviewer, someone will be logging in as an inventory manager. So there are a lot of roles as other roles as well. Someone will be logging as a stability manager, someone will be logging as a stability analyst. So we understand that, okay, this role can do this, that role can do that, that role can do that, and this role can do this. But why don't we create one single role? Why are there so many roles? Can anyone answer me? This is one important question. Why roles? Why such segregation?
To have a different privileges.
You have different,
It's privileges.
yeah, different privileges. Why do we need different privileges? Because we are working in a controlled environment, right? LIMS is a controlled environment. Like, you don't need access to those on which you don't need to work, right? Why should we give you? If you do something wrong or if something, you need to work on only what is your task. If you're an analyst, go only to the samples, assign values, work with the values, or maybe change the values if needed, modify them with proper justification. But you should not be able to approve them, right? Your boss will, or supervisor, whoever it is that senior to your chain, they will come and approve or reject, right? Or you won't be able to change your, LDAP password. I mean, you won't be able to change your privileges, right? Your language or your group to which you have access, right? That's why there are so many roles, right? Each role has its own task to do, and each role is limited to those only those tasks, so that there is no mix up, so that it's easy to track for the pharma company as well who is doing what, and it's for the sake of the entire industry that things go as expected, because we don't need access to everything, right? We need access to only what we need to work, simply. So going ahead, once you have hands-on experience, you will understand. So that's what I said, right? LIMS assessing cost. So you know before integrating LIMS into any project, right, you want to integrate LIMS, right? The pharma company want to take LIMS, or they are migrating, maybe they are using 2 or 3 different type of LIMS in different sites, and they want to migrate to one singular LIMS. So they need to assess a lot of things, right? Even if without looking at the site, you can think, right? Initial cost, cost of purchase, cost of support, cost of maintenance, cost of training the resources, time for training the resources, time taken to create the master data, All of this should be taken into consideration, right? Am I right or wrong?
Correct.
Correct, right? Again, see, these are very complicated calculations, right? The senior management, they sit not only 1%, maybe 10, 15, 20%, 30%, who have 25, 30 years of experience, they sit and they themselves assess, right? What is costing, what would be the cost if we take 1,000 licenses, what would be the cost if we take 10,000 licenses from that LIMS vendor, from that LIMS creator, everything is there. Maybe there are a lot of points, lot of assessments which we are not taking into consideration, but okay, let us see what's written here. Initial cost of purchasing of system, plus internal training time. See, implementation and validation. Now, what are the annual costs? M plus L plus Tn minus TO or T0, whatever you call it. Maintenance cost per year. See, you need to maintain, right? L1, L2, L3 support maintenance is there, right? If any user is leaving the company, you need to revoke access from LIMS, right? You need to renew license, right? So, see, license for the LIMS. See, percentage of initial cost per year. Cost of time spent using new LIMS, T0. Cost of time spent using old paper-based system. So Tn minus T0. So this is how you assess your costing, right, in LIMS. Obviously, these are very simple formula, but this just to give you an insight that what needs to be mainly taken into consideration while implementing a LIMS, because these are very big decision, right? They may implement LIMS in 10 sites, 20 sites, 50 sites. There may be a lot of master data, so many report creation, so many master data creation, migrating the data from one environment to another, it's a very costly thing, right? So they need to think about how to make it as much cost effective and time effective. So that's what, right? But however, see what is written. Oh, this 74% came in the middle. Anyways, so the real benefit of LIMS is a long-term value added quality to the laboratory processes and product. Yeah, but the real benefit of LIMS is what? It adds long-term value to your processes, right? Once you automate it, it's automated, right? Then you go ahead with minor modifications, right? Once automated, it is saving your time and cost in the long run, right? Because, for example, just take an example that N1 V1 equal to N2 V2, right? So what is V1? Then N2 V2 divided by N1. For example, I'm just telling you, this is just an example. So that formula is written at the back end in LIMS, right? You are just giving the values. You don't need to write the formula again and take a calculator. No, just add the values, automatically you will get the output. The 60% of IT projects are cancelled prior to implementation due to functional time and budget constraints. So that's why many are cancelled even after implement. I mean, once they have started the rolling out or implementation, I mean, once they start the project, they see that they are not able to meet the deadlines, or there are bottlenecks, or that kind of LIMS may be showing some problems. This is not going as expected. So again, maybe that also can cause stoppage, right? So risks identified. No formal process in place to select and implement LIMS customization. Underestimated, unrealistic schedule and budget estimates, risk management plan not well established. Yes, unrealistic schedule. There are many schedules, right? They tell that okay, we can complete it within 3 months, but no, some master data, big creation of static data, master data for large molecules, which are more complicated, that takes much time. Budgeting is there. They may think that okay, it will take 3 months in this much budget. It may get within 3 months, it may not get over. There are some complex calculation, and again, it's extended for 3 months. I'm just taking simple examples, okay? So guidelines for a successful LIMS implementation. You prepare business cases. You collect and organize user requirements. What requirements are there from the users? Okay. Then you see what is your priority. Is it critical to work process? Then is your priority to improving work process, or your priority 2, 1 is improving work process? Is it priority 3? Is it good to have? If you will have, is it okay? Development and functional specification, then evaluation of vendor responses, gap analysis. LIMS, a lot of LIMS tool have a lot of gaps. Okay, so whenever you stay in any development LIMS projects, you'll understand that each LIMS has its own shortcomings, and then the developers and automation people sit and they discuss that okay, how can we mitigate this gap? Can we create certain codes, this or that? Okay, is such certain configuration customization needed? After that, they do the validation and testing, right? So all of this needs to be taken into picture while implementing LIMS, and if those are taken into picture and everything goes good, then only you'll be able to integrate or implement LIMS. So what does your good information management system will do? It will ensure that all data is well managed. Okay, the ALCOA principles, right? Attributable, legible, original, ALCOA C, contemporaneous, original, and accurate. So those who are in the QC labs, they know. Now it is ALCOA plus. So your LIMS has to maintain that ALCOA standard. So you can go ahead and Google ALCOA if you don't know. Anyways, ensure your confidentiality of data and privacy of patient information. Yes, because this may be used in the clinical trial labs also, right? And preclinical trial labs also, right? So you may be working with patients. Okay. So incorporate all the laboratory business process, assure accessibility, accuracy, timeliness, and security of data, streamline sample tracking and sample workflow in the clinical laboratories. So that's what, right? What you do. Generally, what you do, with the samples or what is the, LIMS workflow is done from registration of materials to generation of reports, right? These are common LIMS workflow, common to most of the LIMS as well, right? So first you do registration of your sample, then maybe you do reception, you receive your sample, okay, in LIMS, then you do sample preparation, then you do the work allocation of that sample to a particular analyst, then you do the testing, you do the validation, after then you go to the approval, after the approval is done, you create the report, okay, then after the reporting is done, you worked it, you then go ahead with the archival after a particular time span, right, based on your archival principle or the archival rules and regulations set by your regulatory authority, FDA, CDSCO, whatever it is, right? So functionalities of LIMS, right? So there are a lot of functionalities of LIMS, but let's see what is written here. Reception and login of a sample and associated customer data. Yeah, you receive a sample, you log a sample, you work with samples, right? Everything. Assignment, scheduling, and tracking of the sample. Yes, that we discussed. Processing and QC associated with the sample, and utilized equipment and inventory, right? So all the equipments which are utilized, right, for testing that sample, all the instruments which are needed, right, all the instrument IDs, okay, all the QC tests which are needed for for that sample, that is also done in LIMS, right? So you see, LIMS is not only used in your development and R&D lab and manufacturing lab, right? QC labs also use LIMS, right? So the person who is working at QC, I can see some that they'll tell, right? LIMS is a very important part of QC lab. Without LIMS, QC labs cannot think, right? So storage of data associated with sample, inspection, approval, and compilation of sample. Yeah, someone was telling something.
Yes, sir. Actually, yeah, it's Kishore, sir. Actually, I have one question,
Yeah, sure.
sir. Nowadays, in QC they are using ELIMS, so it is this course will cover some part of that ELIMS also something.
So we'll cover level limbs as a whole. Okay, elims. I did not get you what elims is or what part of limb.
ELIMS means sir
Is
like
it
balance and
ELN? Are you talking about electronic laboratory notebook? No,
no,
something
no, no,
else.
no, sir. ELIMS means
No,
sir.
no, no.
HPLC and all those QC instrument is connected to LIMS only. So directly data is going, so it's no pain they are using in QC. Like balance, wet print will go directly to HPLC is connected to LIMS. All that.
Yeah, but HPLCs and GCs, I don't know. What I know of HPLCs in lab limbs, HPLCs and GCs are connected to Empower. Okay, Empower or your chromatographic instrument takes your chromatographic data, and Empower is connected to your limbs. From Empower, your data goes to limbs.
Yeah, yeah.
Their
That one.
interfaces are made. That is Millennium 32 interface. Okay,
Okay, okay.
so that is how that works. Anyway, so what are your functionalities of LIMS? That's what, right? Audit management, barcode, chain of custody, compliance, customer relationship, document management, calibration. You work with workflows, you create reports. Okay, you create methods. Okay, you enter the data, you do inventory management. That's what, right? LIMS can do a lot of things, right? But at the basis, the backbone of it is sample, right? Without samples, you cannot work with LIMS, right? So advantages, yeah, very fast report and access queries, reduction in paperwork. You don't So improved data quality, improved, operational efficiency, because you don't need calculators every time all the formulas are written, simple to use Excel like formulas, you can feed formulas, you can automate the task. So this improves your productivity. That is the simple thing advantage of LIMS, right? You are digitizing the things. Instead of thinking everything manually, you are digitizing things. So that is what is providing you, that is what it is becoming cost effective in the long run, right? Not only digitization, right? With digitization, your data is also becoming secured, right? Who is accessing? You are able to see, right? You are able to see the audit trail. You are restricting the access, right? So these are all the advantages of LIMS, right? Disadvantages, yeah. Training, time to adapt, cost. There are physical restrictions as well. You need backup servers. If something is wrong, if backup properly is not there, then, data servers can get damaged, workstations can get damaged. So there are risks of digital data as well. But if you look at the advantages, far outweigh the disadvantages than manual entry, right? Because, if paper has a lifetime, right? Paper is a physical thing, right? Although, servers are also physical, right? It's like you store in some hard disks, right? It's not like you store in thin air, like, but still, right? Papers, like servers, you can transfer data from one server to another, right? Paper, like you need to, print or copy data from one paper to another, right? So maintaining papers is very difficult, right? They have a specific lifespan as well, right? And, maintaining racks and racks of paper, big racks and shelves of paper, that is a very big challenge, and if you try to change anything in LIMS, right, intentionally, maybe you have some wrong intentions, immediately we will get caught. There is no way you can do such things, so these are the advantages, right? So we need to think about it. So, okay, a computerized system for laboratory data is often called a laboratory information management system and is referred to by as LIMS or LIS. The use of computerized system is becoming more common in laboratories around the world. Not common, it has become mandatory in almost all the laboratories in the world that no, you need to digitize, right? An appropriately designed and installed LIMS brings accuracy and accessibility to the flow of samples and data in the clinical laboratory. So, okay, so with this, I end the session of, LIMS. I mean, this is the demo session. So, going ahead,
What are the topics you will cover, sir?
yeah, I'm telling you, going ahead. So we'll cover on stability management, we'll cover on instrument management, we'll cover on,
Your screen
query
is not
writing.
visible, sir.
No, I'm not sharing my screen. I'm just telling you the topics. We'll cover on query management, we'll cover on inventory management. Okay. We'll see master data creation. Okay. We'll see a bit of master data creation. So this will be, we'll see what customization is, what configuration is, what is the difference between customization and, configuration, how to, migrate data in LIMS from one environment to another, from dev to test, from test to production, how to write simple queries in LabVal LIMS. We'll see the table structure in LabVal LIMS. I'll teach you SQL basics. So this will be a very exhaustive course. Okay.
If you want to learn depth knowledge and LIMS basic in the sense that is also available here, sir.
I mean, in-depth means, there is no end to depth, right, LIMS? You can go till coding as well, right? But we'll cover many things, whatever is taught in the lab, I mean, whatever is needed, we will cover. So yeah, it will be quite in-depth, I'll tell you.
Actually,
Because
sir,
we'll cover the modules as well, right? We'll go into the modules as well. So we'll see the
Module
LIMS
going
architecture.
how to run a query.
Yeah, we'll see, right, how to run a query. See, query is nothing, right? You should be able to write a query, right? Running a query, like clicking on run will run your query, right? The execute button. But you should be able to
Yeah,
run a query, right? You should know how to write a query. You should know what a table structure is, what a table is, what a relational database is, what primary key is, what foreign keys we'll discuss, right? Then only you need to run a query, right? The point is not how to run a query, how to write a query in LIMS.
yeah, going to teach that
Yeah, yes.
part of
Sure.
coding SQL language.
Yeah. I'll teach you the basics of SQL. Surely. I taught it to the earlier classes and they were very happy.
Sir, I have actually this course is very useful and knowledgeable, but I have one doubt. So actually, in IT there is two parts. One is developer and one is functional team. So if I want to enter in IT, so they will take me of course in functional team. So this course will is helpful for even whatever in functional team to work. What is in that it will helpful for
It
that
will
one.
be helpful for everything. You will learn a bit of coding as well, right? If you learn this properly, they can take you in the technical team as well, right?
Okay, okay.
So you why only be in the functional? You say learn both. You say I want to learn both technical and functional, right? Techno
Okay,
functional. That
okay,
will give you higher salary hikes. That will
okay.
take you higher in your career chain, right? This one you'll agree, right?
Yes,
Don't be
sir.
only technical, don't be only functional, right? Be both.
Yes,
Be
sir.
techno functional.
How much period it will take, sir? This is how many days?
It is approximately 16 hours course, right? Each day I'll try to cover, 4 hours, 16. But yeah,
4 hours each day. 4 hours.
Yeah, 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 ma'am. It will be take 1 month and only weekend classes. Like every Sunday, 4 hour classes.
Oh, okay.
so that it will be
Is
easier
there
for you, right?
any recording is providing, sir, or else just listening?
Yeah.
only?
Sure. Recording will be there for every class, and you'll get the
Okay,
slides.
demo also is there.
Yeah. You will get recording for all the classes. Whatever I teach you, this will be entirely recorded.
What is the
Okay.
timing?
Timing will be from morning 8 till afternoon 12 o'clock. I think, madam, you can stop the recording. I have taught. Now is the Q&A session. So
Yeah,
anyone
yeah, sure, sir.
yeah.
One question.
Yeah.